LPC, and we are here all month long honoring Depression Awareness Month by talking about releasing depression. So I do like to let y'all lead the content, and you chose depression and how to release depression or depression awareness, so we're going to focus on that this month. And I'd like to let your questions and your interests guide me when I'm making these videos. So I don't make them too much ahead of time. I really want to hear your feedback and be able to morph the content into what you're specifically interested in. So I have kind of a rough idea of what we'll talk about each week. This first week, we talked about depression and releasing sadness from the body. Next week, we're going to go into releasing depression in the mind. And the third week, we'll talk about how to lift depression from your spirit. The last week, I really want to focus on inviting other practitioners in to talk about how they heal depression. I do things a little bit different than most, and so I want you to hear from other LPCs or social workers. I want you to hear from some non-traditional practitioners too, like access bars or Reiki and other modes of healing that you might want to consider. So before we move on, I want to just remind you my philosophy on healing. I'm a licensed professional counselor, so people usually come into me to heal their mind, but in my working with people, I always try to bring in these three different aspects of the person's self. So there's your mind, there's your body, and there's your spirit, all of which are always working together for your greatest good of your soul. And so when people come in, even if they do come in talking mostly about how depression is impacting their mind, I will bring in these other components, because in order for you to be truly healed and experience true wellness and inner joy, just a life satisfaction, healing, you really do need to incorporate all these different aspects. And so we all know somebody whose depression has been alleviated from their mind, but their body is still suffering, and you can tell they're not taking good care of their body. They've got lots of illnesses popping up. Or somebody who's healed their mind and are taking good care of their body, but spiritually there's still a void there, and so they walk around still angry and angst and not experiencing the joy that you would expect from somebody who has healed their mind and their body. So I try to touch on all three of those whenever I talk about healing with anybody. So we will touch on all of those. We've done body, and before we move on to mind, I'm gonna go into what we've learned about the body and how it deals with depression. So Western philosophies, how we manage depression in America, is medication management and talk therapy. So your primary care physician will say, you're depressed, I want you to go see a therapist and check in with a psychiatrist. And I call that managing depression, because it's not truly healing it, it's helping you with the symptoms of it. And sometimes that's very necessary. Sometimes we need some relief from some of the really debilitating symptoms of depression so we can engage in healing the mind, healing the body, and healing the spirit. So medication has its place in healing depression, absolutely. So I don't want you guys to watch these videos and just stop taking your medicine, and please don't do that. So just to go back over, summarize what we've learned so far. In the Western world, science has identified serotonin for quite some time as having a major impact on our mood. So low serotonin equals low mood, and that's been repeatedly proven in the research. More recently, we've understood better the importance of gut health, really still linked to serotonin, right? Because we still believe serotonin's the make or break for depression. So we now know that serotonin's made in the gut, and so there's been an emphasis on making sure gut health is okay. And again, in the Western world, we fix things or manage things by adding medication. So there's a lot of medications out there, probiotics, prebiotics, all kinds of things to make sure your gut health is just perfect. But in reality, the way to make sure your gut health is where it needs to be is to trust your body to manage it, and do that by fueling your body with the right nutrients and the right nutrition so that it can have the building blocks to do it itself. I promise you, there is no way to improve on the human body. The human body is just magnificently designed, and when we stand back and let it do its thing, we really do experience better health. Nutritional psychology is the newest of these three, and it involves how different foods impact your mood. And we talked about that for a while. People are really interested in that. There's no shockers there either, though. It's really get rid of processed food. MSG is bad. Get rid of processed food and replace it with healthy whole foods. Omega-3 fatty acids are found to be really helpful or really beneficial in mitigating depression, and so is fatty fish. My go-tos are blueberries and broccoli. I don't know why I can remember them better, but I do. Leafy greens are helpful. You can check my Facebook page. There's some, and I'll continue all month to put things on there about how to eat to heal your depression rather than to fuel your depression, because there are foods that will actually fuel the depression in your body. They don't help you make the right things in your gut to produce the serotonin, so you can be on medications and you're not feeling anything because the serotonin can't keep fighting with trying to be made in the gut if it's not fueled with the things that it needs. So we did that, and then a less traditional way of thinking about depression is kind of the Louise Hay trapped emotions ideas, right? So we have Body Keeps the Score, which recognizes the importance of emotions being stuck in the body. Like, they don't just disappear when we stuff them, they're literally stuffed. I always use the analogy of a Build-A-Bear. You know, you keep putting stuffing in there, keep putting those emotions in there, and it grows and grows and grows. The emotions don't go anywhere. They're stuffed. They're in there somewhere, right? Louise Hay goes on to say that she says all, and I believe her, all diseases or illnesses are originated from trapped emotions, and in this case, sadness, grief, depression is trapped in the lungs. So using her beliefs, it would mean that people who have a lot of trapped sadness, grief, low mood, depression would have issues with their lungs, asthma, chronic bronchitis, COPD, and that would be one way to help release depression. So then I like to talk about non-traditional modes of healing, and it's so weird to me that it's called non-traditional. I use a lot of traditional Chinese medicine as my go-to for healing personally, and I'll talk a lot about it because it's been really life-changing for me. But to call that non-traditional just seems ignorant, really, because it's seeped in thousands of years of tradition. It's just not our tradition, and so we call it non-traditional, right? What we mean is non-medical. I think it's a non-medical way. So in that mode of thinking, they talk about inflammation in the body, they talk about circulatory health not being right, and they talk a lot about liver qi stagnation. So the qi runs through your whole body, everything's interconnected, and there's a stagnation in your liver. So if you go to a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, they will sometimes use acupuncture to help unstick the qi or unstagnate the qi. They'll give you dietary advice such as bitter greens to release the heat from the liver. They'll tell you not to have cold foods because that has a lot of yang energy to it, and you want to add just a little bit of heat to the food so it'll take away the heat from the organs. So we talked about all of those as different ways to release depression as opposed to manage it, right? Because this is about releasing depression. When I try to help people heal, I'm not trying to help them manage the symptoms anymore. I'm trying to help them release those symptoms from themselves, from their mind and from their body and from their spirit, so that they can have a joyous life. So to recap, there's really essentially 3 things you can do just yourself to release depression from your body. The first is healthy foods, and that's the one that I talked the most about. I really haven't mentioned exercise and sleep hygiene because they're talked about so commonly. I feel like I wasn't going to say anything that you didn't already know about that. So if you are super interested in how sleep and exercise decrease depression, let me know, and I'll do some little shorts on the impact of those. But really, I wanted you to focus on adding something healthy to your diet to help your body release the depression. And if you don't like fatty fish, you can maybe add leafy greens, try the blueberries. before they go out of season. We'll talk more about nutrition over the months, because nutrition and how you feel your body will impact everything, not just depression, any mental health topic we talk about. So we talked a lot about that. Sleep hygiene is important because of its link to serotonin. So serotonin and melatonin's used is that what I mean? Melatonin? Yeah, melatonin they're linked. So when one is low, the other is low. And if your melatonin's low, you don't sleep as well. So people like to take over-the-counter melatonin, and I like to tell them not to, because what happens is our body isn't lazy. That's a way to think about it, but our body adjusts constantly, right? And it doesn't want to use energy where energy isn't needed. So if every night I'm taking melatonin, my body stops making it because it doesn't need to. It's getting melatonin somehow magically in its system, so it stops making it. And melatonin will naturally decrease over time. So if I artificially kind of speed up that process by taking melatonin in my 40s, by the time I'm 70, I'm really going to have a lot of trouble sleeping, or I'm going to have to keep increasing the amount of melatonin I take synthetically, which I don't love doing, so I don't want to do that. But sleep is impaired with depression for a couple of reasons. One reason is because you can sleep for 20 hours when you're depressed and never hit the restorative phase of sleep. And if you don't hit the restorative phase of sleep, you will wake up feeling like you didn't sleep at all. You will not feel rested. And so when that sleep cycle into the deep restorative sleep is interrupted, it feels like you haven't slept. So having your melatonin and your serotonin in balance so that your circadian rhythms work the way they're supposed to is a foundation to feeling well in general, but specifically with depression. So getting enough sleep is important, and I say it's important to do that on your own as much as possible. If you can't, again, managing that symptom with medications it's an okay idea. It's a necessary thing sometimes to get our sleep cycle back on track. But better, or over time, I like to encourage people to use the sun to do that. The sun will naturally reset your circadian rhythm. Sometimes it's hard. Like in Texas, we have a pocket of time, our rainy season, our hurricane season, where the sun is elusive. It's hard to get that. There's lights you can buy really inexpensively too that do the same thing. Not the same thing, but they help, right? So there's ways you can try to help get your sleep back on track. And you know a lot of these. Day structure helps. Exercising during the day, we'll talk about exercise in a second, but exercising during the day, not staying in bed when you're tired, and just put your phone down. You all know this. The lights from the phone, it's activating the dopamine hits. You all know to put your phone down. Just do it. Just take good care of yourself. Give yourself permission to take good care of yourself. So sleep, and then exercise. We all know exercise is good for us. Most of us, a lot of us still struggle with doing it or implementing a routine of doing it consistently. I say be fun about it. I joined a dance class, take ballet with a bunch of other women and a couple guys, and that's fun for me. And I like to run. I do things that are fun to move my body. It doesn't have to be intensive marathon training or exercise classes, or you don't have to work out epically every day. It's just about moving your body. If you get up and jump around a little bit or go walk outside, that's good. Just move your body. That releases endorphins, which will help with symptoms of depression. Will help with most mental health issues. So healthy food, sleep, and exercise. Those are the things I want you to keep in mind, of things you can be doing right now, today, to start to release depression. So next up, we have releasing depression from your mind. This is where people usually come to me for. So that was a little bit more medical. This is body, really. We're going to move on to the mind and how to change the way you think and how that helps you release depression. So to get started, I posted some things on Facebook to help you with the uncovering. The first stage for me in healing is always helping the person uncover how much this is an issue for you personally, right? So when we get into the mind, I want you to start to think about how much does your mind impact your symptoms of sadness or your beliefs about yourself or how you feel every day. And the first way to do that is to just notice. I don't want you to change anything. I don't want you to do anything other than just notice. How are you talking to yourself? Do it for the rest of today. Do it for tomorrow. Just how am I talking to myself? What are the things that I'm saying? We all talk to ourselves constantly. So what am I saying to myself all day, every day? I want you to jot some of those down. And when you do that, you'll uncover some themes. There's some themes about the way we talk to ourselves. Most of us talk to ourselves pretty negatively. When we have never had any help thinking about or being curious about how we talk to ourselves, most of us fall into this familiar pattern of criticizing ourselves kind of constantly. So let's find out what you criticize about yourself, or maybe you're just awesome at this already and you can help encourage the rest of us to do better. So if you haven't seen this on Facebook, go look on Facebook, see what other people are saying, add your thoughts. Let's have conversations about this. How do we talk to ourselves all day long? Let's have conversations about it. That's really what this is all about, is finding support, giving support, asking for support together so we can build a community. So that was kind of the wrap up for the body. If you have any nagging questions or things that you just wanted to know about the body that I didn't think to cover, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I will create a little short and post it, or I'll respond to you privately so that you get your questions answered. I really want this to be a venue for you to be able to pick the mind of a licensed professional counselor for free and just get your questions answered. So I hope you liked the first week of releasing depression, and I hope you're looking forward to the second week delving into the mind. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the premieres.